All right, today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty fascinating. It's a system, a really complex one, built by this dedicated community that's trying to find patterns in, well, a game of chance. We're talking about the Swertres cycles system.
So you look at this, right? It's just a bunch of winning numbers from April 2026. For most of us, this is just random noise, no rhyme or reason. But is that really all that's going on here?
Well, for the folks behind this system, these numbers are anything but random. They actually believe this data is speaking a kind of language, a hidden code. And if you know how to read it, well, it might just tell you what's coming next.
And that code, it leads to these really confident, really specific predictions. I mean, look at this. It's full of jargon. So the big question is, how on earth do you go from that wall of what looks like random numbers to this, a super high priority signal? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So the first big hurdle is just the randomness. I mean, it's a lottery. The whole point of this system is to try and find some kind of order in all that chaos. They've built a structure to basically interpret every single result that comes out. And to do that decoding, they use this special framework that they've developed over years. The best way to think about it, it's like their secret decoder ring. It has its own unique rules, its own language, and its own special kind of logic.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. The fundamental building block of this whole thing is called a cycle. Now, instead of looking at every number by itself, the system groups them into these predefined teams. There are 22 of these teams, or cycles. So every winning number belongs to one of these teams, which lets them track how the group is doing, not just the individual number.
But here's a key detail. Not all hits are the same. A clean delivery is what they're looking for. That's when a winning number is one of the missing numbers from a cycle's list. That's progress. But a recycled hit, that's just a repeat of a number that's already shown up for that cycle. That doesn't help it move forward at all.
This right here shows you how the system measures urgency. It's all about these tiers. Basically, they classify how long it's been since a cycle got a clean hit. T0 is normal, no big deal. But as more and more days go by without a hit, it climbs the ladder. T1 is elevated. Then you get to high pressure and finally critical. The higher that tier, the more pressure they believe is building up for that cycle to hit.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does it actually work in practice? How do they take a real result from a draw and fit it into this whole framework? Let's walk through an example. We'll look at the 9 p.m. draw from April 22nd. Okay, so the winning number that night was 508. And the system immediately said, aha, that's a clean delivery for cycle 2. It matched a missing number, 850. But wait a second, 508 and 850 are not the same number. So what's going on here? What's the connection? And here's the trick. It all comes down to something called the permutation check. See, the system doesn't actually care about the order of the digits. It only cares about which digits are there. So you take the result, 508, and you sort the numbers. You get 058. Then you take the missing base number, 850, and sort those digits. And what do you get? 058 again. It's a match. And just like that, cycle 2 gets its clean delivery. Okay, now this is where it starts to get really interesting. The system takes all this data, all this tracking, and it starts to flag what it thinks are opportunities. By watching the gaps between those clean hits, it can pinpoint cycles that seem, statistically overdue. These are the ones they call the pressure cookers. So, take a look at this. This is the gap status table for April 23rd. The system just sorts every cycle based on how long it's been. And what do you see right there at the top? C21 and C22. Both of them are flagged T4 critical. One has gone 32 days, the other 30 days without a single clean hit. Now to put that into perspective for you, a 32-day gap is a huge deal. It's a massive outlier. Inside the logic of this system, that is extremely rare. We're talking something like only 4 out of every 1,000 gaps ever get this long, so it really stands out. Now, just compare that to a normal, healthy T0 cycle. Look at C5, for example. Its gap is just 3 days. The difference is just night and day. These T4 cycles are considered total statistical anomalies, and according to the system, that means they demand attention. Okay, so let's recap. The system has tracked the hits, it's done the permutation checks, it's measured the pressure on every cycle. What's the final step? Well, it pulls all of that information together to create what it calls headline signals, basically a short list of what to look out for.
So this is the moment we've been building up to, right? After all that analysis, what does the system actually say? What are the most promising signals it's pointing to for April 23rd?
And here it is. This is what the system puts out. Now, logically, you'd think those critical T4 cycles would be at the top of the list, right? But check this out. The number one signal is actually cycle 5, which is a totally healthy T0 cycle. So why? Well, it's because pressure is only one part of the puzzle. The other part is timing, and C5 is right in the middle of what the system calls a day 3 peak.
And this is the crucial piece of information. The system's own historical data shows that once the cycle gets a clean hit, the most likely time for it to hit again is exactly 3 days later. The probability on that third day jumps to 32%, which is the highest of any day. It's what they call a proven peak. So on April 23rd, cycle 5 is sitting right in that statistical sweet spot. It might not have the most pressure, but it's got what the system sees as perfect timing.
So that leaves us with the big ultimate question, doesn't it? I mean, this system is incredibly detailed, it's logical within its own rules, but is it actually a map to real hidden patterns in something that's supposed to be random? Or is it just a masterpiece of our own minds wanting to see patterns where there are none? That very human need to find connections in things that are totally unrelated. It's definitely something to think about.